Communities and advocates use case. Imagine you're a community member in Honduras and a hydroelectric dam is being constructed near your village. You may have questions about how this dam will affect the safety of your community and your drinking water, but you have received limited information about the project's health and environmental impacts. You connect with a regional civil society organization who identifies that the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, is supporting the construction of the dam. They inform you that an accountability mechanism exists where you can raise concerns about IDB-financed projects. You may not be familiar with accountability mechanisms and want to understand what to expect before deciding whether to pursue a complaint strategy. From the landing page, you search for complaints filed to the IDB's Accountability Office, MICI, and complaints that have been filed in your region, Latin America. Filtering by these two features takes you down to a list of 147 complaints. As you scroll, you notice that the overwhelming majority of these complaints are listed as closed without outputs, meaning that the complaints failed to reach a substantive policy stage. To understand this better, we can use the Visualize feature to see a graphical representation of this information. Looking at the visualizations, we notice that eligibility seems to be the key bottleneck, stopping 80% of complaints from reaching a substantive stage. You want to make sure that you aren't in the category that is found ineligible. To be more specific in your search, you decide to narrow your search by adding more filters. Clicking on the complaint outcomes list allows us to filter the complaints by closed with outputs, meaning complaints that have successfully navigated through a substantive stage. We can also add a filter on the sector we're interested in this case, energy. Adding these filters takes our list of complaints down to 4 complaints. Clicking any of these complaints allows us to open a complaint details page. On the complaint details page, we can immediately see high-level information about the complaint, as well as a link to the original complaint registry, high-level information about the project, as well as a link to the original IDB project registry, information on sectors of the complaint project, and issues raised by the complainants. A description of the complaint is immediately below, followed by complaint stages, which gives us a sense of the length of the complaint and the stages that the complaint went through. Looking at dispute resolution, we can see that in this case, dispute resolution was not undertaken because the company or government refused to go through the dispute resolution process. Looking at the compliance review stage, we can see that a compliance review was completed, a compliance report was published, and non-compliance was found. To learn more about this, we can scroll down to the Documents section and open the compliance report itself. Scrolling through the compliance report, we can see high-level information about the complaint and about the complaint process. In addition, we can see here failures in 3 key areas: a failure in the environmental and safeguards compliance policies, a failure in the access to information policy, and a failure in the policy on indigenous peoples. We now have 3 independent verified findings of the allegations listed in this complaint. With this information and the information contained in the complaint itself, you can understand how these particular policies also apply to your case and envision how to raise these policies if you decide to file a complaint about your own situation. Or you can use this particular case's compliance finding to engage with the IDB directly before filing a complaint, demonstrating that the problems your community has experienced are part of a known pattern and demanding remedy right away to prevent future harm. You can also use the information in the complaint itself to reach out to the groups that were involved in the complaint, in this case, the Indian Law Resource Center, to see if they have any information or advice that might be useful in the filing of your own complaint. You can also follow this complaint to stay apprised of any new developments that happen over the life cycle of this complaint. If you do decide to file a complaint, or if you're just generally curious about the operational policies of these accountability mechanisms, you can also click through to the mechanisms page from the complaint detail page. Along with high-level information about each accountability mechanism, these pages also contain a benchmarking tool where we can see how these policies of this accountability mechanism relate to people's ability to file complaints. Since we're interested in eligibility requirements, we can filter the categories of benchmarks to only look at eligibility requirements. Opening an individual benchmark allows us to see information related to that particular policy. In this case, the question, must the complaint list all of the complainants for MICI, the accountability mechanism of the IDB? The answer is yes. We can see where in MICI's policies this policy is stated, and we can see how other mechanisms compare in their policies.